Robots Radio presents...
Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on July 24th, 2020 over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat as we continue our discussion over the information regarding Titan. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who have signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is the indubitably, I don't know if it actually works in that sentence or not, green-eyed music lover.
But did you know?
But did you know?
But did you know?
But did you know that Titan is not a planet? It is a moon.
Green
It is technically not even a moon, it is a satellite, if we're going to be extra specific. Blue has been teasing me because my tweet.
Is it though? Because I would, well, I guess it would be considered, yeah. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it, huh? Yeah. So, and last but definitely not the least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend, ProfessionalTed. Ted, how are you doing?
Hello. I am doing fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We've been laughing it up in between shows, so...
in chat.
You know, it's fun.
No, in chat. It's indubitable.
You know,
Yes.
I'm going to be the Bryn of this episode, and if you don't know who Bryn is a shoutcaster for Overwatch League, and he throws out the most random words, and he puts things in there that aren't supposed to be there. Like indubitable.
Indubitable.
Or indubitably. It is great.
This is totally going to be a new emote.
How?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out.
Fine.
Oh, but enough with chatter. I know everyone is looking forward to diving into the discussion, so let's just get right into it. I know we had talked about Titan as kind of like this planet that had a theme, right? You had mentioned that it had a theme, and it was not breeding.
Correct.
But so if it's not breeding, Green, what could possibly be the other theme?
Well, let me
Chat,
tell you
it's
a
totally
story.
breeding.
This is why you need to be here in live chat with us. It's always a lot of fun with a lot of inside jokes going on. But the overarching theme for Titan when it comes to the enemy races is, except for the Taken, which is a newer development on Titan, is that the Hive are experimenting and the Fallen are scavenging.
Yep. The Hive are experimenting
That's
with breeding.
as well as other things, yes. That is one thing. They're also experimenting with music. They're experimenting with gravitational waves.
Yeah,
They're
you gotta
experimenting with a lot
come
of
up with
different
those
things.
new lyrics for
Turning people into
the viral
crystals.
chant.
Mm-hmm. Yes, new baby hive.
do. So story
Just
missions.
slide that in there. Yes, let's go into story missions.
The
All right,
Hive are
so
in their college phase.
Oh my gosh.
That explains the mess.
That also explains why that, and they're also in the quarter, like the DS quarters for the Lost Sector. Like they're taking over all. Anyway, I'm gonna go into the story
And
missions
eggs.
before we digress. Even, oh my gosh, having to pop all the eggs in the first mission, which is Hope. Hey, segue back. I'm gonna bring it right back. Hope is the first mission that we do on Titan back during the Red War. It is after everybody has basically panicked and fled the last city because of the Cabal taking over. It is where you have Zavala being an emo kid, and Sloane basically says, I got this, let's do this kind of thing. And so you go through and you're working your way towards the Siren's Watch. You have to take out a hive breeding ground, which we spend quite a lot of time in during the patrols, because that is where not only fallen servitors show up, but also a hive wizard. So it is a very easy farming area. Beyond that, we go into Riptide, which is the continuation of the story.
Real quick
for
on
Red
Hope.
War.
Real quick on Hope.
Okay.
This
Go
is
for
also where the Guardian informs the Vanguard that they have regained their light, which is where
Correct.
the title of that mission comes from. Because Zavala, that's why Zavala is like in such a funk, is because if everyone remembers, in the Red War, this was right after the Traveler had gotten blooped and it cut off the light for all the Guardians. So this was where we actually sought Zavala out, and he was like, "It's not possible," and we were like, "Nope, we're immortal. We got this." So sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Riptide.
You're good. Riptide is a fairly simple one. It is the mission where you have to go and power scrub the pistons that are in the wave that actually generate the power for the rig and everything else around it. So you have to go over and power scrub, aka shoot it with a gun until the hive gunk come off, and then you also take out a wizard at the end. Pretty simple one, straightforward. Sloan leads that mission. I don't even remember if Zavala has any voice lines in that one at all. I do know that Zavala does speak in Utopia, which is the third mission on Titan, and in Utopia, that is where you get to see the giant sea serpent for the first time in the CPU room with the giant glass wall, and the sea serpent just floats by ominously. Not floats, swims, supposedly. Maybe he floats, I don't know. He's a Leviathan-ish. Leviathan, lowercase, not uppercase. But in Utopia, we steal the CPU to help decrypt Red Legion in transmissions that they have intercepted to try to figure out about the Almighty. So when we actually get the CPU back to Sloan, they find out about what the Almighty is, and that's how we actually continue the story for the Red War. Fun facts, though, with Utopia, Blue kind of mentioned this a little bit ago about how when you're going through the Arbitorium, I think, it's either that or the Solarium.
I can't remember which specific one.
But when you're moving through that, you hear the PA system come on, and there are 3 things that kind of get said there. The location is called the New Pacific Arcology, the bright future of space colonization, and the shadow of Saturn. And then Blue, in the intro episode, had mentioned 34% of Titan citizens hope that the Traveler will terraform the ocean moon soon. And the last announcement, which I think is kind of neat, is that there is going to be a lecture on the terraforming of Io. So that lecture takes place...
No, sorry.
Yes, the Cassini Library. So that's a fun little shout out. The Cassini Library is actually a small, I wouldn't say Easter egg, but it is a nod to an actual NASA mission that ended back in 2017 called the Cassini mission. And in this mission, it was basically like a little satellite type thing like we have. It's a craft. Did a lot of research around Saturn itself, and on September 15th, 2017, it actually kind of nosedived into the planet to send the last bit of data towards us as it was diving in. So we actually have a little bit of information about it before Saturn basically squishes it because of the gravity.
And also, real quick on that mission is connected to the jump ship that we talked about, because that mission's full name was the Cassini-Huygens mission. It was a collaboration between NASA, the ESA, or the European Space Agency, and the Italian Space Agency. So it was a huge project that included the Titan IV rocket. And I think it originally launched in like 97, I think does that sound right?
Oh.
It was 97.
I don't remember when it first started.
But it reached its destination and got into the orbit in 2004. So it was a huge project between these 3 big groups, and it was named after Cassini, because Cassini was the probe, and then Huygens was the lander. So it was just it's a really cool little bit of information that we've gathered from that mission. It's been immense amount of information about the outer reaches of things.
All right, Blue. I'm going to let Ted take the next section because I'm going to give him my favorite mission that takes place on Titan.
So the other mission that happens is after the events in Forsaken, which is the Ace in the Hole mission, which you do when you're doing the Ace of Spades quest, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's towards the end of it, I believe.
And it's in the Festering Halls, which is where you drive that, what will be our tank after you collect the CPU in Utopia and stuff like that. And this is where Cade has hidden his, goodbyes to whoever kills him. So you find one for Eris, you find one for Tanix the Scarred, who was in E1. You find one for the Drifter. You find one for Petra, the mines behind the Deep Stone Crypt, Hawthorne, just in case, the Hunter Who Kills Me, Zavala, Ikora, and one for our Guardians, us.
Would you want to actually read through some of these? Because I think that a lot of tiny hints towards, well, not only the future, a slight conflict, I guess, in the future for us actually comes from this mission itself.
You want the one to us?
The one in particular I'm talking about is actually the one to Petra. Okay. Because there's a hidden message in this one.
Find it. That's number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So the message to Petra reads as follows. Petra, if you're listening to this, you killed me. Maybe the Sovs and all their mysterious wisdom decided they were sick of me? If the Queen ordered the hit, I guess I understand. You're a real glutton for chivalry. But if it was Aldrin, I'm pissed. Just thinking about that peacocks gives me a headache. But I'm betting my death was another case of your famous collateral damage. Because you're a real do-gooder. Seriously, it's annoying, but good deeds never go unpunished when you're around. You got a blast radius. PV, well, it was fun while it lasted. Oh, and tell Paladin Orin, if the sun over Nessus escapes Nebula's cycle, evac labor after dawn under solstice. You got that, PV?
So, fun thing about this is what Blue loves to call the enchilada entry. Just gonna let him wheeze it out.
Totally accurate statement right there. It's on enchilada. I don't know why this is not canonically true.
Enchilada. Okay, so fun fact about Petra and Petra's correspondence with a few different people. When Paladin Orin is invoked in a message to Petra, it is often actually a code key phrase that indicates that the message itself it's in code, which is not hard to figure out. It is literally the first letter of every word creates a new phrase. And this one in particular, if the sun over Nessus escapes nebulous cycle, evac labor after dawn under solstice. That is it. It's on Enceladus, enchilada, according to Blue, but it's on a planet or a moon. Actually, I believe is Enceladus. Isn't it a moon of Jupiter, or is it a moon of a different?
I want to say it's a moon of Saturn, but I think it's Saturn. 6th largest moon of Saturn. Yes, it's about a 10th the size of Titan.
Think that the Deep Stone Crypt was what he was talking about. Never clarified ever, but now that we know that the Deep Stone Crypt is likely on Europa, not Enceladus.
Right, and the reason
there's something.
Yeah, the reason why Enceladus was kind of a good idea there is that the entire most of the entirety of the moon is covered by fresh, clean ice. It actually is one of the most reflective bodies in our solar system because it is such so clean. The ice is so clear.
I always called it Enceladus.
I always called it enchilada because...
Yes, he does.
Well, Enceladus sounds like salad too. So
that works too. Taco salad. There we go.
Oh, Lord.
Europa, however, is a moon of Jupiter, not Saturn.
Mm-hmm. There wasn't really anything else in the dialogue for that mission that I thought was super important for the future. Cade is snarky It's very sad. That's about it.
The long, slow whisper.
I don't... That's true. I'd forgotten about that one. Where is that? One's in the mines from the Deepstone Crypt. And that one reads, "This one's for the mines behind the Deepstone Crypt. You think just because you made me, you can unmake me? Hey, I understand. I were you, I wouldn't want people knowing what I did either. Guess you better hope I didn't tell anyone about the crypt. Or about, what was it? Oh, yeah. Long, slow whisper. 'Cause if I did, that would be real bad for you, huh? I may be dead, but I guarantee you ain't heard the last of me." Do you think Long, Slow Whisper will turn up during,
I'm hoping so.
Next
I'm
season?
hoping so. Well, I don't know if it'll turn up next season. I hope maybe we get a hint of it. But I assume that the long, slow... I mean, my kind of theory about the long, slow whisper is that's part of the upload process. Or the backup process. It's probably a communication relay, some process between the Exos and the Deepstone Crypt.
Ted, what do you think about the long, slow whisper?
I always thought it was for their backups and
just within the Deepstone Crypt.
Yeah, within the crypt there. But I always, when hearing that one, my mind focuses on who would be around to get that message. Mm-hmm. And what concerns me more about that is like the thought of there being sleeper cells, from Clovis Bray just kind of hanging around still. And that's usually where my mind goes there, and not so much. I don't think I've thought too much on the actual whisper, but that would be really cool if something happened in Beyond Light, since we're getting the raid there.
It would be interesting to see if we meet an Echo that's not crazy.
Yeah.
Because we had that the Legacy episode where Blue and I went through and talked about the Echo that was on that base. That floating base, rather. Yeah, gosh. The guy who's basically been driven mad by being reset thousands of times.
2,400 some odd times, I think.
Yeah. If he was meant as an Exo to be a guide, essentially, to help establish the new colonies and outside the rim and everything of their solar system, it would stand to reason that they would have something specifically there at the Deepstone Crypt to help with that, manage that. Whether it's I don't know if it necessarily would be an Exo, but it could theoretically be some sort of Exo. Chat's going crazy saying they want to see Clovis Bray there.
It would be crazy. Mm-hmm. Just thinking about like the power to wipe somebody, because the Exo are as much of people as everybody else is, and the fact that you could just erase somebody and either let them start again or use that as a punishment, and then they having no idea what's going on, is creepy. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I want to know,
I don't like it.
If we go to the Deepstone Crypt, if the Deepstone Crypt is a requirement for a certain type of wipe, we in some ways know that it's not, because Banshee has been wiped within not necessarily our life cycle in the game, but at least within the city cycle, because there's old logins where he's trying to log in as an old number. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it ties into Exo history, which I'm excited about. Blue, I think we should head to a commercial break and then jump into the adventures before we get too far down this rabbit hole. So, listen to other people from our new radio network, Robots Radio.
Do you like adventure?
Yeah.
Do you like laughing?
Yeah.
Would you like to listen to a group of people you don't know play D&D and reference retro pop culture you vaguely remember? Excellent. You're going to love Committee Quest. We play D&D in the world of Amarin. We use adventure modules and supplements made by people in the community. We also have a sweet synthwave backing track. Come and join us on our adventure. Volume 1 has been completed. Volume 2 coming the end of January. You can find us on iTunes, Podbean, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
And now we're back with Green and her creepy voice. Now, adventure time. Let's go into adventures. Blue, you want to take these guys?
Planetary Adventures are always fun. The first one that we get on Titan is called Thief of Thieves. This one is basically Sloane gets really pissed. And it's really funny because about halfway, or actually a little bit into the mission, Zavala actually takes over the mission because Sloane, quote, Sloane has stepped away for the moment. The thing she's shouting would blister your ears. May I recommend finding that beacon? So basically, Fallen have been stealing repair tools from all of Sloane's workers that are, around the area of trying to fix things. And so you've basically been tasked with, go get the stuff back. So you recover the tools, and then you find a bigger stash of Golden Age materials that the Fallen were planning on using that they had also scavenged. So Sloane and you basically decide, okay, well, we're going to steal that. So we become thieves. But in the process of stealing it, you put a beacon on it so it can get picked up. Mm-hmm. Well, the beacon gets stolen, and that's when Sloane just loses it, and Zavala takes over. And so you then start chasing different, I think there were different groups of Fallen that you basically end up chasing down.
Marauders.
And you get your beacon back. To go back and transmit. But it was just the best thing because you're trying to steal something from the Fallen and they end up stealing from you. It's just like this huge game of who get hot potato with a beacon. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. But yeah, the Sloane temper tantrum is the best part.
Mm-hmm. Vuru has another really good line from that mission in chat. Ghost says, "This one looks thievier than the other one." There's some great comedic moments in this adventure for sure.
Well, isn't that in their name too? Are they Fallen Thief or something like that?
Yeah, I think
when
that.
They're running away from you.
Yeah. That one. So that one then. So once you get done with Thief of Thieves, the next one that you basically get is Bad Neighbors. And in this one, the Fallen are using fuel cells to build an explosive countermeasure to the Hive. So basically you are in this weird position of kind of shooting everyone so that they stop fighting. And the Hive have put a resonator on top of the tidal anchor tower, so the Ghost and the Guardian use the Hive disruptor to destroy it.
And the Hive disruptor is the fuel cell that they had jerry-rigged.
You didn't see that there were air quotes around Hive disruptor.
Ghost actually calls it that. Ghost names it, and Sloane is asked what it is, and he basically says, "Oh, nothing." We're gonna call it a Hive disruptor.
Don't worry, we'll take care of it. And so once you get the Bad Neighbors adventure done, that opens up Siren Song. Siren Song is where you act. This actually is a really fun one too. So what's happened is there's a gravity wave generator that, the gravity wave generators are the engines that are giving the rig the power, and the Hive have basically started to kind of work to destroy one, and so they're trying to destroy it. So you've basically been tasked with, okay, you got to stop them. So after finding a few of the generators, you locate a large crystal that is air quotes singing. And this is also where you get to meet one of the named Yellow Bar Knights. This one is Naukthor, the Crystalline, protecting it. Once you defeat him, Amanda pops up and she wants to steal the crystal for research purposes. She wants to try to put it on
how many things
she can power with.
She wants to know how many things she can power. Yeah. Ships,
I believe there was
sparrows.
A ship and a sparrow mentioned.
Uh-huh.
This part has always unsettled me. There's I liken it to a scene in the first Men in Black movie where Will Smith is training and you see all these cardboard cutouts of the aliens, and he ends up shooting the little girl. And And they're like, well, why didn't you shoot the aliens? Well, he's sneezing and he's just jogging, and then she's got this quantum physics book. Like, what is she doing out in the middle of the night and whatever? And I feel the very same way about Amanda Holiday in this mission. What is she doing? Why?
There's another voice line. I can't remember if it's this mission or one of the other adventures where Sloane goes, oh no, if Amanda went rogue, this whole thing would be infested with hive like so quickly.
It just, I don't.
I think that was.
She was so eager to be like, yeah, I got that.
I think that was the one where she makes the comment about Amanda. She's trying to barter with Amanda to get her to help you, and she's like, "No, I got to repair my ships." And she's like, "All right, I'll give you first pick." She's like, "Right, fine."
Amanda's been hanging out with Marcus Wren too much. That's what's been going on.
That and who is it? Enoch is the other one.
Oh gosh,
that entire crew just
crazy mechanics.
So once you get Siren Song done, that brings you to Deathless, and Deathless is kind of the final adventure on the planet. And in this one, basically, there's this knight that is just causing mayhem with Sloane's working crews. And what it turns out to be is this is a hive experiment that has given knights a more permanent shield. And so what you start finding out is you actually have to kill this knight three times. I can't remember.
At least three.
Before. But in order to destroy it, you find out that basically you have to also kill a wizard that is basically powering this knight up. And then, so as you are progressing, you kill it like once or twice, and then Sloane recognizes it as a ritual. She's like, "Oh, this must be one of those rituals that we've heard about." And so then I think you start going down into the Festering Halls, which is where the strike takes place. And you actually go I think it's Festering Halls that you go into, and you have to kill the wizard, and then you can finally kill the knight. This is the excuse me.
Is that where the ogre pops up in the elevator shaft at the end?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember which one. This is Karlog, the Undying, that we'd mentioned in the intro session. So that's the final planetary adventure, and this is also where you get the fun line from Amanda. Like, she says, yeah, they worship death. We serve the light. Good versus evil. Black hats, white hats. Really makes you think.
She's a scary character. Like, she's somebody
she can have the crystal, and everybody's okay.
Right? It's just like...
Oh, very, very just said the last line in the mission from Siren Song is from Amanda. You're a beaut, aren't you? Oh, the test I'm going to run on you. I wonder how many pistons you can power. Sparrow thrusters, obviously, but what about warp drives or...
Yeah, she's the girl with the quantum physics.
She reminds me of Kaylee from Firefly.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. That or Scooter from Borderlands, that catch a ride guy.
Yep.
Just the crazy mechanic who's just going to make things like jerry-rig them until they work.
Might not work the first time or the fifth time, but it will work eventually.
She's only, like, what Amanda's lost, was it a leg?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's only lost one leg.
So far.
We don't know how she lost it.
Drifter and Amanda can never meet.
Oh my god. Drifter, Amanda, and Marcus Wren. And there's a few characters I don't want her to ever get too close to. I think Amanda thinks Drifter's creepy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think she doesn't. She feels uncomfortable around it, but she also thinks Marcus Wren's an adorable idiot, I believe, or something along those lines.
Right. Okay, so I want to dive into World Quest and a few other major events that have happened on Titan. The World Quest being Enemy of My Enemy, which we kind of brought up in the introduction episode. And Enemy of My Enemy is one of the only missions in game where you can get to choose if you, like, your choice actually has a slight impact on later on in the story. At the end, I'm trying to remember everything else going on in that. You basically are finding that the Hive and the Fallen are fighting each other throughout this whole thing. and you are following. Is it a
methane reactor?
I'm trying to remember if it's a fuels. Yeah,
it's the methane. So it's like
cell.
it's a methane reactor that similar to the crystal that we saw in Siren Song. It's something that they're going to. Amanda's going to jerry rig into the what was it? The wave energy converters to help power the rig and keep it floating, basically.
Okay. So at the end, which is kind of I'm trying to remember which weapon we got from Titan 2. I can't, it's not clicking in my head, and I was trying to figure out which one it is. Oh yeah, it is Rat King. Thank you. So at the end of the mission, you get a choice to shoot either the knight first or the fallen captain. And depending on how you choose, I can't remember if you end up just having to kill the Hive Knight if you kill the captain first.
Yeah.
You have to. The knight has to be killed, but the captain does not.
So if you kill the Hive Knight first, the captain bows to you and leaves the thing and just goes, just disappears. Also, find out later that is Mithrax, who was basically like, "Thanks. That was bad. You saved my butt." Okay,
yeah,
I'm out.
If I remember right, too, he was in a cell that you let out. You let him out.
Yes. In the really dark area, in the festering halls area. Yeah. He was in that, and you get locked up in a cell after opening his cell. You're locked in a cell, and you can't actually affect him as he runs away. And he's just like, "Oh, thank you. Bye."
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah. But that one, you end up getting Rat King at the end of it. And then the other major events that happened, obviously we talked about the last days of Kraken Mare. That one, if you have not listened to episode 194 or have not read the book, it is essentially a book on obviously the last days of Titan. And in that you find out what was going on during their emergency and how Rasputin was involved, as well as an Exo who is not a very nice Exo, but also has a connection to a guy here, and it's a very awkward old relationship that it should be like a rom-com gone bad. Do you remember this, Blue?
Crown 6. It's actually like I really liked that. I think that was one of Seth's works, if I remember correctly. It was back in season 8.
You can check the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think that's what I have written. I'm pretty sure I have it on the spreadsheet there. But like I really liked all the characters that were presented in that book. But I think it was David and Morgan, I want to say, was the Exo, referred to as Crown 6.
Sounds right.
But there was their relationship was very interesting, because David was the hardcore pacifist, and Crown 6 was basically at that point a puppet of Rasputin for really all intents and purposes. Except you find out that she wasn't it was really, really well done how like the development of those characters in that very short span of work. I really, if you haven't read it, that's one of the ones I really do think it shows a lot of light on what was going on, as well as some of the tensions that existed between the Arcology and Clovis Bray, which I think are also really important.
The other two things that I would say are probably one of the more startling things that show up on Titan is the last part of the Last Word quest is on Titan, with the damnation and the conversation. The conversation being the draw, essentially, where you're having to summon the last word and outshoot the proto-hive, which Blue has fond memories of while doing the show.
It's not the only one.
Is that on Titan?
The other one was also on Titan.
Tangled Shore.
Yeah, I thought the last word
The
one.
conversation was on Tangled Shore.
Yeah.
But there was one part that was on Titan, though. Damnation, I thought, was on Titan.
Yeah, that's in Greg's area.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the ogre area.
Yeah, but the bugged out one was in the same place that the strike on.
That's right.
Down in the brood.
The brood hold.
Yeah. Inkar. Right. He cheats.
Jerk face. No, you just don't aim down. Like, you can't aim down sights. You have
No, that was the
to
one
hit
that bugged
draw.
out
You
on
have
me.
to hip fire.
That's the one that I had to go. I had to start all the way from the beginning
Start
again.
over. Yes. That's what you get for doing a mission like that.
That wasn't even the worst one that I did during this show.
I know.
Which brings
We're gonna
us
talk
to the
about that
next one.
Next, which is the Thorn mission. Sloane has a few voice lines talking about Dredge and Yor. Did you realize that? Like, she actually bypasses security to look up stuff on Dredge and Yor, which I have always wondered why. The only thing that I think it could have to do with is the Thorn mission, which you run Zavathun's song with so many burns on, and it's... Blue did this
Don't recommend
strike
doing
with
this without
pins.
headphones,
Oh my god!
because you don't have
So-
radar, and it's melee. One hit.
Blackout. Yeah.
And void burn.
I don't.
Blue
like
did. Oh my gosh, he did this strike with pens, and who was the other fool that had to do it with you?
There was a couple different
Was it
people that we
Uni?
got in, because it took us a long time.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, all the Thrall. The Thrall were the worst part. Like, that was honestly the worst part.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And oh my gosh, I was so mad at you for doing that during the show. I don't know how you kept from screaming.
Slow and steady.
Gosh, that was it was a mess. I know you
I found
died a lot.
I found the hiding hole. That was finally the. Oh, that was a. I did not play that strike again for a very long time after I got
I
done
did
with
not
like
that
that
one.
strike. That's actually one of my favorite
Oh,
strikes.
no, I
and
like
I'm
it.
really
Yeah.
sad that it's going away.
I like that strike, but yeah, there was. I mean, it was
That one
probably
ruins it for a little bit.
that. Yeah, I as soon as I would load in on the Vanguard strikes, that was the one that was one of the few times that I'm like, nah, I'm gonna just go back to orbit real quick. And
I've been here enough.
Which one is the Fallen on Nessus? That's the one that I'm like, I don't want to do this one.
Exodus down.
The
The
Shadow
Fallen?
Thief.
Oh yeah,
I think it's the
Exodus
Shadow
Crash.
Thief.
I don't like that one.
It's so that one I dislike quite a bit.
That one-
I'll do it.
that one I've
It's
just gotten
not
really
too
good at
bad to
running
do.
fast.
It's just annoying. Risk Runner.
Yeah.
That one. That's a Risk Runner one.
It makes it go real fast.
It does. It does. The last thing, besides Zavathun's song in general as the basic strike, which everyone has run to death, this Zavathun song is the first instance that we see a Shrieker that is tied directly to Zavathun, and that will actually transition us nicely to the contact event, what's going on now, although as of the date that we were recording it, the contact event is back on Io, not Titan at the moment, but there are marionettes on Titan currently, which is a lot of fun. What do you think of this section, Ted? This was one of the things that you were kind of excited about, Taken being on Titan.
Yeah. So I think, number one, when you first see the big ol' Shrieker, the eyeball at the end, that was so cool. And then I remember when I first saw, Savathun's name in the strike and being like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And for that to finally come full circle and for us to see that there are plans and we have even more literal eyeballs watching us on Titan. So fun. I smiled, even though they're creepy and they're following you even wherever you go. But seeing the Taken come back and actually have a purpose with them makes me really excited for the future. I don't know if this thread is going to be completed once Beyond Light comes out. I feel like it's going to go beyond even further and probably won't have a whole lot of real meat to it until we get closer to the Witch Queen DLC. But it's definitely something to keep your eye on.
So I want to bring up a Spinfoil that I've heard mutterings of. It relates to Zavathun, which relates to Titan, at least initially. Obviously, Zavathun has just kind of been everywhere at this point, but the eyes themselves, the ones that you have to pop. Blue, do you know where I'm going with this one?
Mm-mm.
Do you know what asset they're using?
The eye is from the 9 lady, the emissary.
Oh, this one.
It's the same. It's
Supposedly.
It's the same.
Supposedly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same asset look as the emissary of the 9. So the theory that I've seen out there is that Savathun has infiltrated that, and that's why Orin it is Orin, right? Like, I'm not making that name up. I'm the emissary.
Yeah, that's Orin.
She's that's part of the reason why she's trying to leave.
Well,
everything is that she's been kind of seduced by Savathun. That's it's a spinfoil. Obviously, it's not got any weight in my mind, but that's just one of the mutterings I've heard on the interwebs.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I can see the path there. I just disagree. But real quick, I did. Veru also reminded me the. Back on Siren Song, that actually was another of the missions similar to World Quest that actually is connected to something that happens later. You actually get armor from Amanda called Songbreaker. And the flavor text of that armor says, "They're powered by that hive rock you got me. Sloan gave me permission once I explained the voltmeter readings," from Amanda Holiday. So there's actually a connection with the giant crystal that we send to Amanda. She actually does craft us something out of it.
Well, that's nice of her. She used a piece of it
to spy on us. Yeah, I know. It's really nice of her.
Amanda is not.
You just thought Eva was, but Granny with the machine gun has nothing on
this book. I want to talk about this. The new cookbook. For those of you who are not on live stream, The Destiny has a cookbook. It is written by Eva Levante. There are some really questionable things that Eva knows in this cookbook. Tiny bits of lore, stuff between pages of wonderful drinks and foods, and
we're gonna have to test it all out. I mean, that's what any good lore researcher would do, right? Is make sure that all those recipes work.
Julie, she's all for it. Like, we are planning on Julia Childing this book, like going page by page and recreating the recipes. And I am so excited because she wants to kind of sort of learn about lore. Basically, she's allowing me to talk lore at her while she's cooking these recipes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be visiting Green for the next.
There's a marshmallow recipe. Like, how?
That's kind of cool.
Right?
That's pretty cool.
It's super simple too. Like, there's some really cool things in here that I'm excited to try that I've never had before. And there's some like staples too, like coleslaws in here, fried chicken fried steak. Like, the section with Amanda Holiday is all about Southern comfort.
Yeah, I was about to say comfort food. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's going to be a fun one to dive into. Titan, final thoughts on Titan and like how much lore is actually packed into this tiny moon that everyone's like, there's nothing there to do. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Mm-hmm. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I actually, Dancing Veru just said this too, and I was going to bring this up too. There is a lot of really interesting parallels, whether they're coincidental or not. There's a lot of different parallels that go on with Titan and with what we know about the Fundament from the Books of Sorrow. Yes. There's very similar events. There's very similar discussion on gravitational differences. There's similar ecologies, basically. It's very interesting. We don't have enough information to say, yeah, Titan is the Fundament, or or it's not. There are a lot of things that would make sense. There's some things that wouldn't make sense. There's on both sides, but it definitely has some connections, at least in the vocabulary that is used. Now, out of character knowledge, kind of pulling back from the fourth wall there a little bit, it could also be that the authors were the same. Seth wrote the Book of Sorrows and also the Last Days. So it could, you could argue that it could just be, that's his vocabulary that he's biased towards. I don't think that's the case, but I could see someone making that comment. But
true, But he's so cognizant on what
correct,
he's
and that's what I was about to say is between his very, very strong awareness of what he's writing and the fact that, again, it's not just a single person, it's a team. I think that a lot of the connections, I do really think, if it was just one or two, I would think those would be an accident. The fact that we have several makes me think that it is a little intentional. Now, with as many as we have, I also am kind of nervous saying that it is a connection because it's like, but I do want to call out that there is quite a bit of theories about the connection between Titan and the Fundament. That also being said, I think Titan, and I think you guys have mentioned this a couple times, I think Titan, as well as the other planets that are, quote, being sunset, I really don't think we're going to see them destroyed. I think that, if anything, we're going to evacuate them, but I don't think that we're going to see any of these planets being destroyed. I think they're going to remain as potential environments for the future. Yeah.
But they're going away.
They're going away.
We're not going to be there.
Correct. We're evacuating. We're evacuating from them. But that evacuation...
I'm curious.
Evacuation is not the same as destruction, is what I guess my point is.
I'm curious if they're going to pull something in relation to Asher Mir's card in Duress and Egress, where, you know, how he shoots the rocket at him, which we're going to do an episode on this at some point. I promise, guys. I've just been recording it in the background, and in that, Asher Mir shoots a laser beam and a rocket and the fact that the rocket essentially disappears, it's there, it's physically there, and it's just invisible and deactivated in some ways. Like, it's just they sidestepped it or something into, I think they transpose. I can't remember how he described it, but I remember it's stuck in the shield essentially.
Yeah.
It is like the imagery that I got is that it's there next to the pyramid, but it's like it went into another time frame, but it's stuck in that spot.
Viru also wants me to point out that on the Fundament, Savathun was the first who was influenced by the worm, and the brood on Titan is called out as being first, or being related to Savathun as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Blue. I don't think that Titan or any of the planets are going to be destroyed. I think they might be occupied until further notice, and we're not going to have any business there until the Witch Queen comes out. Because when we look at all the planets that we have, the only one there's two right now that have a very high focus to them, and that being Titan and the moon. I don't think we're going to go back to the moon for a third time to take a look at more hive activity. To me, it would make more sense that when we come back to Titan, once the Witch Queen is kind of getting closer, that it's going to be even worse than what it is now. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's where a bulk of the story for the Witch Queen happens, just because that's their territory, unless they're going to come out with a completely new zone like the Dreadnought or whatever.
Right.
For
we could see a return to the Dreadnought too. Because technically the Dreadnought's still there.
Yeah, that's true, and you can see it from there too.
The only question I have with the moon is I want to see that pyramid wake up and decide to leave. That would be cool, and then the moon would be all broken up again. You could argue then a completely different environment, but still have it on the, like, you could do basically two birds with one stone, right? You can introduce an entirely new area, but still have it, quote, the moon.
Right.
Yeah, and that's Viru saying kind of the same thing with Titan. You could do title changes on Titan. Right. You know, and you can change these whole spaces. And that's why I kind of been thinking, I'm like, I don't think we're going to see like Planet Buster, happening.
Yeah, I think they're going to look completely different. They're not going to pull a Death Star on us, but
I mean, we don't know though.
No, we don't. We don't. I can see like I'm just speaking from like the feeling that I get from like the thematic steps that they've taken. Like,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, we could destroy it, but the thing is the repercussions that you would have to deal with, because for all their small differences that they make with, like, you know, the Titan being the ocean world or whatever, they really do actually try to also keep somewhat within the realms of reality as far as like space. If you destroy an entire planet or even a moon, like, that has significant repercussions within the solar system that I don't like, unless they're going to go fully down, you know, the space fantasy route and just be like, okay, we're going to take away, you know, we're going to step away from reality and go full space magic moment, which they kind of did with the Dreaming City. But I just, I don't know, like, I see them more likely also keeping them in their back pocket, because they've made comments about sunsetting being put into the vault that can also be then brought back out.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think destroying the planets would sit well with the community unless they were assured to come back afterwards. And that's what the vault is kind of built for.
Only one planet I can think of that the community would be like, good riddance. Mercury.
Yeah, I mean... And the only reason I would say that that's probably not going to happen is because of the story connections that are tied to Mercury. The Infinite Forest and the Sundial, mainly.
Personally, until this season, I would have said Io. Because...
Really?
Yeah, I've not been as interested in Io because I was more interested in Venus than I was in Io. And I think they're very, very similar. And... now that we can go into the, I'm blanking on the name, but where the tree is and where the maze was, where the traveler, the cradle, yeah. Now that we can go into the cradle, I found it a lot more interesting, but just like visually, I don't think it was as compelling as Venus was for me. I would have rather.
Oh, I can agree with that. Like, Venus had a very distinct aesthetic to it.
Mm-hmm. And they're very similar, except for Io doesn't have the buildings.
Io doesn't have like the color.
Plants?
Yeah, the color.
No, it's just yellow
swath.
Yeah.
Also,
there is still a mystery on Io. Blue brought it up. Where does the subway go?
I'm here to remind people of the important questions that we have.
I hate that stupid subway. It makes no sense.
Is that from the map?
Yeah, it's
from the Rasputin.
the D1.
It's when we did the season where we were doing the bunkers. Because when you go down in the bunker in Io, there's a subway there randomly next to the Pyramidion.
You're right.
There's nothing else there. There's nothing there.
She got so mad.
It doesn't make sense.
That is funny. I honestly didn't even consider that when sparrowing through there. Like, I just wanted to get to the bunker and get it over with. I think that was
one of the few times we were on comms while we were playing, and she's like, what is it? It was like, whoa!
Yeah. Whoops, that's
so
an
angry.
Asset from the EDZ.
Yeah, I don't... Oh my gosh, I was so mad. I don't know if it was from the EDZ or if they used an asset from D1 with the subway system on... What planet was
Mars.
it on?
Was that
Because there was a map.
Freehold?
It may have been. Freehold had it. Mars... It would have been Mars, wouldn't it?
What? Sorry, which...
There was a PvP map that had
I thought that was Venus.
subways. I don't remember which map it was.
Because it was with
but there
Rise
was...
of Iron.
Oh, in D1, there were a couple different ones with subways. There was Venus. Venus had different metro systems because that's how they got from the Ishtar Academy to the Clovis Bray facilities. There was a connection there. But then Freehold also had on the patrol mission. You could when you spawned into Mars, if you went down through the building and out, there was and go through those buildings. There was a giant. That's where all the Minotaurs hung out. The only reason I know that is because that's where I'd always go to get those bounties done. Mm-hmm. And then I think there was a PvP map on Mars that also took place around a subway.
Because that had the scrolling text that everybody thought was a new
yes,
piece
yeah,
of
yeah,
whatever, but
yeah.
it was just an emblem.
And then, the back door to the Black Garden, thanks Black Flag, was also in the underground subway in Freehold. That was how we...
right.
There was like 4 or 5 Vex
that.
gates.
Yeah.
That was a fun debate to be like, how is there a back door to the garden? Yes. And then there was the Mars map that was on top of the Clovis Bray skyscraper.
Yeah, with the rotating thing.
And that was kind of that was what I thought of when we read the Constellations book, when it talked about the speaker, or the first speaker being above Freehold.
On the top of Freehold.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah.
I don't have anything else for this one. Do you want to wrap this one up for the advanced episode?
I think so. We don't have any dispatches. We Green mentioned on the intro session her project with the audio file that will be hopefully getting out soon. And then also next week we are taking off, and then the following week, Pins is going to join us to kind of talk a bit about what we saw with Halo Infinite and just in general Halo lore. We'll probably talk a little bit about what has happened that seems to be leading up to Infinite from what we know so far, because I know that's a question I've seen quite a few places. But other than that, really shout-outs. Ted, do you have any shout-outs for this episode?
No, I do not.
All right. Green, what about you?
My shout-out goes to the teachers that are currently in limbo, as well as all the parents currently in limbo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I'm actually speaking with an old friend of mine at the moment. He's an art teacher in Wichita, Kansas, and he's telling me that they still have no clue they're doing.
Yeah, they've been going back and forth a lot too.
They've also had a huge series of outbreaks recently. Yeah. So, and that scares me because I have family there. My little sister is working in a hospital doing clinicals right now there. So I'm I've been on edge with that one. But yeah, shout out to those guys. Stay strong. We have your support. You have our support. It's just, it's bleak. It's not fun, but be kind to your teachers. Be kind to your community members who are teachers within your community, whether it is a teacher at a school district or a teacher teaching pottery class somewhere else. Like anybody who is in the field of teaching right now, it's a incredibly difficult time for them because no one has been trained to deal with this. Mm-hmm. This is them learning it as they go as well. So be very patient.
I was about to say, yeah, that's the other thing is not only be kind, but also be patient because they are being absolutely slammed with an overabundance of information that is changing on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Not only for like the recommendations from like health centers and stuff like that, but also requirements for how, and I mean, the thing is with teachers especially, it's like, you know, we're seeing enough difficulty with our own selves being sure to wash our hands, you know, every time. They're going to be responsible for kids, you know, and that's going to be like 20 to 30 kids. They're going to have to make sure that all of them are doing, you know, all the sanitation procedures and all. It's just be kind, be patient, and that goes for everyone who is an essential worker, who's just in general. Like if there's people out there, just be aware of that and be patient. Everyone's going through battles that, you know, you don't know about, and that's one of the important things to remember. But other than that, I just, you know, as always, want to thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer, stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusedFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at FocusFireChat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.